Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players, I'm the RJB0 and welcome to my logical format video series in which I, every 6 months or so, get to test my, I guess you could say, knowledge, more like nerdery, of statistical analysis and microeconomics and, of course, most importantly, Yu-Gi-Oh by making my own format prediction video. Now, I am entirely aware that there are about a bajillion other format prediction videos out there, and they probably get old as of about mid-January, so why should you even bother listening to mine? Well, first of all, I kind of make these as a documentation for myself to say I told you so later, so if you didn't want to bother with this, then my feelings wouldn't really be hurt. But if you are planning on investing your next few minutes in listening to my weirdo statistical analysis thing that I did, then you might want to know that as an economics student, I kind of pride myself in an almost religious following of the scientific method, and as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I kind of pride myself in an almost scary obsession with research and analysis. So although you probably shouldn't take my advice on how to lead a healthy and productive life, I'd say that my analysis of the OCG meta and of Konami and their business dealings and of formats is pretty accurate. So for anybody who has seen my other logical format videos, you would know that the first thing I always do is make a disclaimer that Konami isn't always really logical. So when I say things that make sense, you should know that they may or may not be actually true, since the Lord works in mysterious ways, by which I mean Konami really has no idea what they're doing sometimes. The next thing anybody who has seen my other videos knows is that I usually start off with some form of analysis of the OCG meta and what are the best decks in the OCG. This time I took it to a whole new level, a level that maybe I probably shouldn't have taken it to, and I actually devised an empirical measuring system for figuring out what is the best deck of the OCG. Now, I won't bore you on the details, but if you really want to find out, I'll put a process description in the description. So I am going to sit down and switch over to Google Docs for a second so that I can give you guys my OCG analysis. So the point system is like any other point system. The more points you have, the more you have been winning. And I'm talking about decks here. So the first thing I have to say is the kind of nerdy and boring part, which is that the average number of points that a deck got was about 42 with a standard deviation of about 10, which means that most decks sat in around most of the decks that actually, got into categories, I'll cover that in a second. Most of the decks got between 40 and about 52 points. The second thing I noticed, and this is why that was important that I said that, is that the OCG has way too much variety. Now, every once in a while I came upon a deck that won a few times, but didn't get enough points. I made the cutoff 10 in order to get its own category. So I kind of put them all into a rogue decks category, and I say that Japan has way too much variety, since the rogue decks got more points than anyone else. They got 92 points. That's a lot. So the OCG has a ton of variety. The second thing that I noticed is that Japan has an extremely clear top tier. Remember that a bunch of decks combined got 92 points, and most decks didn't get above 52 points. Windups got 90 points, and Mermantians got 89 points. The only thing that got even remotely close to those two decks in winning ability in points was Rabbit with 58. So very clear top tier. The next thing is that Japan has a very strong second tier, which were Machines with 42 points, Dark World with 42 points, and Hero with 29. So a very clear top tier and a very clear and strong tier 2. Now, Constellar just barely got past the 10-point mark. It got 12 points. So I figured it should get an honorable mention since we are likely to see it in the near future in the TCG. So that whole point system being laid out, here's the part where I get down to the format. So I'm going to start with windups. they're pretty much the best deck of the format, both in the OCG and arguably in the TCG. Even better, they are not a source of future income for Konami in the slightest, which means that Konami is free to fuck with them however they like and get away with it. So, in looking at windups as a deck, they are a very strong deck in and of themselves, but what really gives them the explosive edge that makes them so competitive is the Magician-Shark combo. The reason why they can continue to work out, or why that's so important to the deck, is that you can search it out very easily with Factory and Windup Rabbit. Now, I am going to say that I think it is highly likely that Factory gets hit either to 1, which I think is most likely, or just 2. I think it is within the realm of possibility that it gets banned, but I don't think it will be. But let's look at the Magician-Shark combo. So there are 3 parts of the Magician-Shark combo that I think are up for grabs for getting hit. The first is, of course, Magician. Magician is integral to the combo because without it you can't search the cards or the other sharks and the rat out from your deck. Or rat is gone by Zen Mighty. But anyway, Magician pretty much starts the combo. So I think limiting Magician would actually hit the combo hard enough to really cripple the deck. The reason why I say limiting Magician instead of banning it is because I don't think it's really worthy of getting banned, and it's really hard to hit the combo because of Factory. So if you only put it to 2, it's not really going to do anything to the deck, since you're probably going to get it out anyway. So I give that about a 30% possibility. I think that possibly that percentage is not quite enough, since my bigger one, which is banning Zen Mighty, is a little bit unlikely in terms of overkill. So Zen Mighty, I'm putting on the table because they started this in September, and Zen Mighty, without it, you can't really go on the huge loop-like thing that the Shark Magician combo is really famous for. You can go into Shockmaster first turn, you can go into a couple of things, but without Zen Mighty, you really aren't going to get the crazy pluses that you would normally. So it is entirely conceivable, and I give this a 40% chance that Zen Mighty will get banned. The last one is Shark getting hit. Now, a lot of people say that this is most likely, but I really don't think that Shark is that much of a threat to the OCG, and that is the dog that I am pet sitting, and he is getting on my nerves. I really don't think that Shark in and of itself is that much of a threat. People keep saying that it's going to get put to 1, it's too good, but really, even if you have it on its own, even with Rat, it's just a Rat goes into a 1-for-1 Xyz. If you have it in your hand and you go into an Xyz without Magician, it gets you a minus for an Xyz. I don't see any reason for Shark to get put down to 1. So that is my analysis of windups. That's a 40% chance of Zen Mighty getting banned, a 30% chance of Shark getting put to, or of Magician getting put to 1, and a 10% chance of Shark getting put to 1. So moving on to Mermantians. Mermantians, Mermail-Atlanteans, whatever you're going to call them, are a little bit more of an issue, since Konami has already released more support for them and is planning more support for them in the future. It's very difficult for them to decide what to hit, since they want to hit the stuff that isn't making them money in favor of the stuff that will, but they also don't want to totally cripple the deck. So the thing that I think is most likely to get hit is Gen X Undyne. They have the potential for more engines in the near future, with the Suppressor Dragons, for instance, that will add another engine to the deck. Gen X Undyne isn't really making them much money, and if they take it out, it gives players a little more motivation to get in on the newer stuff. So I put that at about a 70% chance of Undyne getting hit. I think it's going to go to 1 or 2. I think most likely 2, but we will see. And the other possibility is that since it is the boss monster and they have just released two other monsters that have very similar effects in terms of discarding, I think it is possible, my 30% chance, is Megalo getting hit to 1. Since it way outclasses Abyss Lead and is quite a bit better than Abyss Teus, I think Megalo is on the chopping block. I don't think it's anywhere near as likely to get hit as Undyne is, but I think that putting Megalo down to 1 would motivate players to play a few more of the newer or future cards and support for the deck. As far as Rabbit goes, it is very difficult to decide whether or not Konami is going to touch Rabbit. On the one hand, it is not making them much money in the OCG, and it is going to cause problems for the OCG in the future since they have the ability to run macro, and Ophion and the Infestation card that they use that's like a Forbidden Lance are like way crippling to any meta deck or any decks that are coming out in the near future. So there is a lot of motivation for them to take it out, but there's also a lot of motivation for them to leave the Rabbit deck alone. Since we are going to be getting Hidden Arsenal 7, which includes Ophion and versus Thunderbird in the very near future. So I actually don't think that Rabbit is going to get touched. There is a possibility that they will limit macro in some capacity or another, and I think that is entirely likely. I'd give it about a 40% chance that macro gets hit. But really, on the whole, I don't think Rabbit is going to get touched. As far as the Tier 2, I think that Dark World has finally gotten enough representation in the OCG to merit getting hit. I don't think it is enough to merit Grapha getting hit. I don't think that they're going to go that hardcore, but I think something like Dragged Down getting put to 1 or 2 is entirely within the realm of possibility. As far as machines, I think it is likely that the Machina engine will get hit in some form or another, either by putting Gear Frame to 1 or Fortress to 1. I think Gear Frame to 1 is a little more likely, since Fortress is still useful to decks like Phantom Beastcraft, which are coming out soon, but Gear Frame just speeds the deck up a little too much. Hero has gotten hit enough, and it isn't really a big factor in either the OCG or the TCG right now. Every once in a while it tops an event, but I don't think it's really that big. Now, I think this is enough for one video, seeing as it is now 13 minutes long, and I don't think anybody really feels like watching that much Yu-Gi-Oh! Analysis. But I will make my next couple of videos looking at kind of standalone cards and the TCG and what's likely to come back, since something always kind of comes back in some capacity or another, and cards that stand alone that are likely to get hit. So until that video, I really hope that you stuck around until this point. I'd be really impressed with you guys. This is the RJB0 signing out.